Hello everyone, today we're covering something rather special. We'll be checking out the new Traversal module. Traversal hit the store today and it's even better than expected. So let's try to do some Assassin's Creed type gameplay. Before we start, I would like to thank all of my Patreon supporters for the amazing support. Now before we start, I want to address a couple of things. I've created a new project for this, so it's running 2019.4.11 just so I could make use of Game Creator's new update as well, 1.10, and I just downloaded Traversal. So if you don't have Traversal yet, link is in the description. It came out today, so you you didn't miss it or anything. It's literally just been released, so that's pretty good. And if you are experiencing any issues, a patch is underway and it should be available anytime now. And for those who can't wait, the patch is also in the description, so that will fix any animation issues you possibly could have. Maybe by the time of the recording the patch is already uploaded, so apologies in advance if that's the case. Now I want to show what we're actually doing here and kind of want to show how it actually really works, and because it's honestly really amazing. It's a bit better than I even expected, and this says a lot. I was really hyped for this. So right now, as you can see, there's some Assassin's Creed style climbing, which I honestly just love, and I want to show how this actually works. So this is our scene, and if I select this object and let me turn on gizmos, you will see the following. So you see all of these connections, and right now this is the active one, and you see everything it's connected to. Now if you want the objects to be placed a bit further, you can, well, I need to make sure I select the right one. You can literally move them and you'll see connections being broken at the same time. So as you can see, the connection breaks and it's no longer in range. So that's quite important to keep in mind, but it also is absolutely amazing. This actually works that simple. So you can literally just duplicate an object and place it, move it around a bit, and it's all connected. And honestly, I didn't expect it to be this easy. It's honestly just an amazing piece of work here. We're gonna go over a couple of other things than this wall as well, just to show how really well it actually works. I'm honestly really impressed. So as you can see, we can go like this, and now I can go up, but I can also go on this object here, and as you can see, that's the balancing piece. Then I can go up again, and once I reach the end, I can climb up. And yeah, this is really I mean, it really reminds me of Assassin's Creed. Honestly, I'm loving this. It's just incredibly cool. So let's get started. So for the scene, I'm going to be using the same exact one just to keep some of the scenery, and I won't have to look up all of these items. I'm using Fantasy Kingdoms here, and honestly, Fantasy Kingdoms is it's just a really big bundle, so it would take me ages to find the same prefabs again for all of these models. So that's why I'm keeping it in the scene, and in order to make it fit in, what we're going to do here is going to be simply, let's duplicate all of this, and we'll put a wall next to it. Let me change this. There we go. I would recommend using ProGrids like I'm doing right now for placement, or if you have a different asset that does something similar, great. If you don't know what ProGrids is, go to Package Manager here and make sure in advance that Show Preview Packages is on, and there you have ProGrids. Now ProGrids is still in preview for some reason. It's been in preview for ages. It works completely fine. So, I'm not really sure why it's still in preview, but it works really well. So, it makes placement of objects easier, but it will also help us with the traversal prefabs, which I'll show in a bit. So, what we're going to do with this wall is we'll take a different climbing route, because why not? I do want it to to look the same, so we'll let's make this interesting. And there we go. Now let me remove that. And we're going to take a slightly, we're going to take an interesting route. Let's just see how that all works out. Want to try something new here, want to make it a bit more interesting than I did in the previous one. So there we go. We have our wall. So first things first, when you, let me collapse all of this. When you look in our, you know, in plugins, game creator, traversal, and prefabs, you'll have all of the different traversal options in prefabs. Yes, this makes things a lot easier. I'm really happy with the approach taken here. You know, as you can see, you know, we can place cover, we can place the stand, and we can place all of our climables. We have ladders. There's, you know, honestly so much. So really cool. I'm honestly really happy about that. It makes things a lot easier. So yeah, that's really nice. Let me finish this actually. I forgot these parts under. I'm not really sure this is what a castle wall looks like, but that's okay. So before we start placing all of these prefabs, we need to add our character. And the reason I want to redo that is because I want to highlight a couple of things here. So character, player, should have added the motor as well. So for the camera motor, I'm changing this to hold middle mouse. I'm not a big fan of the whole mouse moving the camera by default. I'm going to change zoom to 4, so we're zoomed out a bit more than usual. This is all the usual, but just so we can actually have a better view of our wall here. So yeah, there we have our character. So really cool. And there's a couple of things I want to show here on these settings. So I'm going to place our cover stand. Let's place the cover stand. And if you leave the character as is and you don't change anything, you'll see the following happen. And oh, the camera motor was not recognized because I deleted it before. So you'll see the following happen, and this is normal. It's because you know, head IK actually faces the camera direction, and as you can see, we're not changing camera direction, and you'll have this weird you know, head looking thing. So I had the exact same thing with the cover stuff I made myself. It's normal because, you know, that's how head IK works. So as you might have guessed, we're turning it off. I turn it off by default anyway, and I only turn it on during certain actions if needed, so small cutscenes, and then turn it back on again. I don't think it's something that by default is needed. It removes a lot of the, you know, default animation stuff as well. Often in idle animations, etc., you know, the head moves, there's these small nods, twitches. Head IK would turn all of that off anyway. Not a big fan of that. So I'm completely fine with turning that off. Now we'll do this again, and straight away you'll see it works. And it's not just that it works, but these were the small touches I was talking about. You see the head moving while we walk, looking down. I really like this. You know, when we look up and down, we even have these animations. When we reach the ledge, we have these animations as well of peeking. Honestly, I really love all of this. I think he really outdid himself with this one in terms of animations. There's just an animation for pretty much anything you can think of, which I think is just really cool. Yeah, big fan of this, big fan. So yeah, that's why, you know, head IK, let's turn it off. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to turn off can jump. Now, you don't need to do this. I want to be absolutely clear about this. There's no requirement for you doing this. The reason I'm turning it off is, one, you know, we're trying to do something like Assassin's Creed here. there's a reason those type of games don't have a manual jump button, simply because it messes with the whole parkour system. Why have a fancy, good looking animation if you can just jump really high and jump on top of things? Again, it's not, necessary. You can turn it on and, keep it the way it is. When you look at the prefabs and go to trigger, you'll see this button, and as you can see, it's space. You can change the trigger to something else. I would recommend duplicating the prefab before you do anything like that. But you could, for example, make a version like Assassin's Creed where you automatically parkour when you're running, say as a condition, things like that. So just have a trigger for on player enter. There's a lot you can do with this. They're just prefabs. They make life easy, but you can still change their behavior. So we'll definitely have a closer look in, stuff like that as well. But for now, we'll just keep it the way it is. And personally, I am a fan of removing jumping in Assassin's Creed type of games anyway. So I'll also drop in a character model simply to match the theme. Now there's a couple of characters in this asset, and I think the rider is the only one that looks halfway decent for the type of character we're going for here. Where is rider? There we go. Perfect. So we have a new character, so let's start placing all of these prefabs from the Traversal module. So I'm not going to duplicate the prefabs. I'm, from what I already have, we'll do it from scratch. So let's go to plugins, game creator, Traversal, and prefabs. Now let's discuss a couple of the basic differences here. So balance, that's the balancing line as I'm using here. Really straightforward. It's balancing. I don't really know what else to say. We have cover crouch, which is a low one, and we have cover stand, which is a high one. Again, the name says it all. This is for grappling. I'm pretty sure you saw that in the trailer as well. It's not really fitting the wall climbing, so we're not going to use that. Hold brace, that's the small one, so we'll be using this one a lot. So I already placed one in the scene here. There we go. You need to make sure the first one isn't too high so that you can actually climb up on it. I'm not really sure about the height, but yeah, we'll see that in a bit. The difference between brace and hanged is that hanged is something you'd use if there would be no wall for the player to put their feet against. So braced, he's in a position where his feet are against the wall. It's kind of an extra support. With hanged, it would be if we're hanging over a cliff, for example, and there's nothing to support. We could, for example, use that here, so we'll do that. And we'll just imagine he can't place his foot against these, I guess. But yeah, we'll try that out as well. Ledge, another jump, these are the jump things. Ladder, I'm not going to use the ladder. It's kind of boring in this case. Obviously, ladder is going to be incredibly important for buildings. So a lot of Cinti assets have ladders inside of their buildings, and this is the perfect solution. But we'll be using the ledges as well, so quite important. Again, I'm going to be using braced, but for this case, I'll also use hanged for here. So we'll already have it in the scene. We'll save some time looking it up. And yeah, we'll place it against the wall a bit more properly in a bit. Mental is basically for for climbing up. So we'll be using that as well. Quite important. So this will be our way up. Yeah, again, I'll need to be a bit more precise with the placement in a bit. But yeah, this is going to be another important one. Let's make sure we actually have our walkway here. There we go. Perfect. And we have wallrun, which could be cool, I guess, to use as well. It's a bit big for this wall though, but you could, for example, do a wall run from this piece to this piece, I guess. So yeah, it's cool to have it in there. I'm not going to use it right now because, you know, this is a small wall. You know what? Let's actually give it a go. Let's actually try that. I haven't used this one yet, so we'll see if we have to do something for this. It will be interesting to give this a try as well. So let's make climbing up, you know, go like this, and then we'll use wall run to go to the other way. In this one, I used the balance. You know, the balance basically acts like a ledge, so it's works, you know, it's really cool, but it's not really difficult to set up. It's the same to set up as literally any other climbables. So maybe wall run will make it a bit more difficult. Will be fun to try out. So additionally, we'll also add a cover stand. We're going to make things a bit interesting here, and we'll basically wall run to the other side. Not really sure why that would make any sense, but I think it's just really cool to try it out. We need to make sure this is not too high for the player to reach initially. So I'll lower it a bit, and there we go. So we'll just mix and match. We'll use a bunch of different ones here. There we go. And yeah, we'll need to try this out. I'm really not all that sure how well this will play out, but I think it's pretty cool. There we go. And I'll actually duplicate this one. That's a decently long connection. We'll be using the same as here pretty much. We'll go up and one more just so we can commute over. There we go. So yeah, all pretty interesting. Yeah, we're combining different types of things here. So I'll need to somehow make sense of any of this. It needs to make sense somehow. So we'll give that a go. So let's collapse all of this. Let's group them all together and start placing them a bit closer to the wall. I'm going to use 0.05 here, as I don't really want anything to really stick out. So we have our brace. No, not these ones. Not even that one actually. Wall run. No, not the ledge. This one. And the cover. There we go. So a bunch of different ones, and it basically well, it needs to connect to the wall. Should have been 0.05. Sorry about that. And I misselected. So cover, wall run, brace, 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 and yeah, that's it. So I'll zoom in a bit. There we go. And perfect. So yeah, we'll turn off the geometry for these two items anyway, as we don't need to see them. So we're all good here. Now I'm going to be placing these at the same depth, simply because it will look a bit smoother. You don't have to, obviously, but it will look a bit smoother if we do that. Yeah, that's actually pretty good. Cool. Just this one most likely will be slightly off. Not perfect as well. There we go. So that will be interesting. So we will have a wall run. Yeah, we'll have a bunch of things here. So let's get started with actually setting this up. And the reason I'm using different ones here is just to show it all connects. Obviously you don't need to. And the interesting thing here is that as you can see, ledge braced is automatically connected, which is this one. In reach there's only one, and as you can see, because we move them around a bit, there's two connected, so we could actually theoretically go up straight here. I'm actually going to be removing that because I don't want it. I want him to go up first and then do the wall run. But it's good to know that it's there, so that's cool, I guess. The wall run, which is going to be a bit difficult to select right now because I hit it, has 2 points. So we have a wall run right and left, which basically need to connect to something. And we have our cover here as well, which seems invisible. And the important part here is that we actually connect these. So as you can see, we have our commute here, and that's quite important. So we have our commute, and what we need to do here is we need to find a place for it to connect to. So what we're going to do, it's, as you can see, wall run is reachable, but the next step is it finds everything in the scene. Obviously there's a lot because I already used it. So we'll pick wall run right, so the right side, and that's what it connects to. Now I think this is point A and this is point B, so I hope I'm not wrong. And we'll do the same with well, I guess we have to do the same here as well. So commute from, I don't know, B is wall run left. Not really sure. I haven't tried this out, so it will be new. I'm just doing what I think is logical, but I might be wrong. Now, before we start placing all of these, objects, we're actually going to give this a go and see if it actually works. So yeah, it's a bit difficult because everything is invisible right now, but okay. Wall run is working as well, but we're not grabbing onto the ledge. So that's the first thing we'll need to do. But okay, so far so good. Oh, I forgot to turn off jumping. I just told you I turned it off and I didn't do it. So yeah, this is really cool. As you can see, automatically connects, which is really cool, but we need to do the last step there. Cool, so let's see what we need to do in order to make sure we properly connect. So first things first, what we're going to do here is we're going to have a look at the wall run. So as you can see, there's two pieces. There's wall run right and left. Now we're not using left as we're only using the right one. So we'll turn off the left one as we simply don't need it. And what we're going to do on the right one is, as you can see, we have commute to. So it's asking us where are we going, and we need to go to this piece right here. So brace 1. Now yes, I can make this a bit shorter as well, but let's just keep it as is for now. Oh, I see this one is not connected to anything. There we go. There we go. Forgot to connect these. So now we're all connected. So next up here, we're going to do the same thing with commute. So on point B, which is on, I assume is on the right. I hope it's on the right. And which one is this? This is this one. There we go. So we're going to do exactly the same here. So we're going to be adding our commute. So B, and this one is going to have the opposite. So point A is going to connect here. So theoretically speaking, it should all be working here. So let's see if it actually does. And yeah, I know this is still invisible. We'll fix that in a bit. and this is why the hanging seems right. Now I'm going to replace those two because hanging here doesn't make sense, but hanging here makes sense. So let's use brace for the other two. And there we go. And we're climbing up. So that's all working perfectly. So let's replace this one with a braced. It just seems to be making a bit more sense. So traversal, and we have prefabs. We can use a, no, let's just do braced on both actually. Let me simply remove these two hanged ones. And yeah, one thing I'd like to point out is what I do is I'd actually remove them pretty far, so the auto connect no longer recognizes them if you're going to delete stuff. And here, you know, nothing is, well, this one is still in reach, incredible. And then remove them. Now the reason for that is that if you don't do it this way, you might get some errors saying, you know, it's still looking for those objects it needs to connect to. So just make sure they no longer connect. You don't need to move them out like I did. You know, you can just remove the connections. So we'll do that here as well. As you can see, moving out was not was not the solution anyway. And we'll do. I don't think we need to do the same here. Now, when you press clear and those errors disappear, it means it's working and you're done. So we're good there as well. And let's add those braced ledges here, because yeah, that actually makes a bit more sense. It just looks a bit weird if we're hanging over it. There we go. Duplicate this one as well. And yeah, perfect. And again, I'm simply moving it like this to make sure all of the connections work fine. It's just the easiest way to do it instead of manually doing it. So we're good there as well. So all connected, that's nice, we're good. So what we need to do now is actually, you know, make it look pretty. So I'm going to use this one. So this is what it's called, so stone railing, if you are using the same Cinti assets, which I doubt, but you know, just in case. I'm just going to move her over it, it's fine. Wooden beams as well, so let's duplicate those wooden beams. I made them a bit smaller in order to make them fit a tiny bit better. Obviously you don't need to do any of that, but you know, just in case. And yeah, as you can see, this is not going to cut it. It's still a bit too much, so let's make this a bit smaller. There we go, that's all right. Yeah, I'm going to be lazy and I'm not even going to bother with, no, I'm going to turn off the geometry. It's just cleaner. Let's do it again for this part. And there we go. I think they're connected. They are connected. Let's rotate this one. I was afraid of that connector not being in the middle. Oh. There we go. Just to make sure the beams actually match. I know it's a bit nitpicky, but there we go. Let's move these beams a tiny bit. We don't need those edges anyway, as they're not actually physical. There we go. So in these two, so the ledge braced, we have these new ones we added. I'm simply going to turn off geometry. There we go. So we don't need to see them. So we're good there. I could have done the same with the other one, but that's just fine. Let's copy over that wood beam yet again. Cool, so those are placed. And yeah, I couldn't really find any other bricks, so I'm simply going to be using this one. I'm pretty sure there are better bricks. It's called path brick, but I couldn't really find that in this asset real quick, so I'm just going to be using this one. Yes, I'm just going to cover over it. I know that's a bit lazy. And there we go. Another one and another one, and let's do another one. Pretty cool. And you know what, I'm actually going to keep this one the same as well, just for consistency, because it's, you know, makes sense, I guess. So let's turn off this geometry. We're auto climbing anyway. And yeah, there we have it. So tiny bit different than what I did before, just to keep things a bit interesting, but also to show how you can really mix and match all of those things, even on a wall, which I think is pretty cool. So let's have a look at what we have here. So I should have turned off the geometry, but that's okay. So let's climb up, and we'll wall run. We'll go over, and there we go. We're hanging. I really like those hanging animations of those feet dangling. That's really nice. Yeah, this makes more sand braced. And we'll climb up, and that's it. I don't even think we need that wooden beam there. So really cool, and as you can see, incredibly easy to place. I think that's definitely one of the strengths of the Traversal module. It's just so easy to set up. I'm honestly a bit surprised. I know, you know, just like everyone else, I've seen the demo, I've seen the live stream, I've played the demo, but you know, I didn't expect it to be this easy to actually set up, you know, in your own projects. Definitely recommend this. Definitely recommend this to anyone. You can find the link in the description. I'll be using it a lot more in my creative game series. I'm also going to be, you know, adding climbing in there. I think it's pretty essential. I don't think Zelda needs any parkour elements, but being able to climb seems, you know, essential. So I'll be using it in that series as well. I think this is definitely, well, in my opinion, an essential module. So far, I've only really considered stats and behavior essential. You know, melee shooter, that's up to your preference. It's whatever you prefer. But traversal is, you know, it's just essential. I can't really think of a game that wouldn't be able to take advantage of this. So yeah, be sure to check it out. Hope you like this. Hope it made a bit of sense how you can actually combine really different things rather than just climbing all into one wall, just like I did. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.